Okay, almost done. I'll do my best to get us out of here right at 12 o'clock. So Scott went through a lot of the large sites, a lot of the things that you should be looking at when you're doing inspections. What I'm going to do now is focus on a lot of the construction that we have in our jurisdictions is really that small single-family development or the small commercial sites, ultra-urban. And so there's a little bit different nuances associated with what you should be looking for and what they can do on those sites. They are site space constrained, and so there's some innovative things I'm just going to go through, and then we'll go through a similar exercise that you went through with Scott. So with the small urban and single-family construction sites, a lot of the things are a little bit different. Sorry for the slide there; it's kind of hard to read, but perimeter controls are a little bit different because you're in this close lot line to lot line development. You're going to get a lot of ingress and egress from a site just through walking, so you may not even have construction vehicles on a site. It all depends on what kind of construction is going on. Building material storage gets challenging just based on space, and there's some innovative things that you can do with that, as well as liquid storage, dirt and grading. Washout areas, sometimes they're done on the street, and so there's some different things that you need to think about for that kind of stuff, as well as the concrete trucks. They're pretty much functioning solely on the street. All right, so first thing, building material storage. So a lot of the smaller sites, they have an issue with space, so they don't have place to put materials on their site. And some of the innovative things that I've seen happen is to actually use the building itself. The picture on the left is a picture of a single-family resident site that's being constructed. They're actually using the building itself to store the material, so that's a good thing. You're keeping it undercover. They've they've essentially got it under that cover, and you're not going to have any effects when it rains with that material. Another option is to put it up on a pallet and then cover it with a tarp and tie it down. And then one of the best options that I've seen is using a shipping container. So these shipping containers can usually fit within 2 parallel parking spaces. They work really well when you don't have a lot of space on a site, because you can put all your building materials in there and then you can lock it up at night. You don't have to worry about vandalism. It works really well for the commercial sites or the ultra-urban sites. And usually you can find 2 parking spaces to be able to put it in. So equipment, a lot of the same principles, but again, for the smaller sites, a lot of that equipment might be on the street. And so you want to make sure, and you're essentially directly in the conveyance system then. So you want to make sure you're using the drip pans. Even tarps combined with drip pans is a good idea for that equipment. For your dumpsters, we see a lot of the smaller sites just don't even have dumpsters at all, and they use large trash piles. So you want to make sure that they're getting those dumpsters. You want to make sure that they're covered, and that they have watertight covers on them so that water doesn't get in there, because once water gets in there, it's mixing with any of the pollutants that are in there. And then as far as portable toilets, I can imagine how many sites I go to where you have portable toilets that don't have the secondary containment. And it really amazes me because it's really standard issuance with most of these portable toilets now. But a lot of them still don't have it, and you still, even though there might be space constraints, you don't want to see them right up against the perimeter controls. You want to see them further into the site. One of the biggest changes with the smaller construction sites is the concrete trucks and pumper operations. So, as I mentioned before, for the most part, for the smaller sites, you're going to see activities where they're actually, the trucks are in the street. They're not on the site itself. And so that sets up a kind of a different set of controls that you want to make sure are in place. So one of the number one things is having a tarp available and put that under the truck so that if there's any discharge of concrete materials, it's not getting on the street. We all know that even if you try to clean that up, there's going to be residue there. That's going to change the pH. You also want to put perimeter controls around the truck to prevent any migration of materials off-site. Tarp might not do it. You might need to have more, just depending upon the operations. And then if there is any residue material, you want to make sure that's cleaned up, and you want to make sure that all your washout areas are cleaned up. Some of the best options that I've seen is that a lot of the the vendors will actually take your wash water and take it back to the plant where they can recycle it. So that's a good recommendation you can make for the smaller sites on a way to deal with their waste. So this is an example of a lot erosion control plan for an individual single-family lot. And I use it because it's done a really good job of identifying the major things that need to be implemented in kind of a single-family erosion control plan. So one of the basic things is to try to make sure that you're not getting runoff onto your site. And so you can see here that there is essentially the run-on is being conveyed around the site, around the construction activity, so there's no potential for run-on to get in contact with any of the construction going on. You also see significant all the perimeter controls in place, stockpiles, designated area for those stockpiles within the perimeter controls. You have your track outs and so forth. So this is a good example of a good erosion control for a small site. I also like to recommend this pamphlet that was developed by the City of San Clemente. They have developed this kind of trifold pamphlet that really identifies all the different things that a single family construction site or a small urban site should be thinking about. You have, you know, stuff for the or BMPs for the concrete trucks and pumpers. You know, identifies dumpsters, portable toilets, building materials. All your perimeter controls, tracking controls, you know, washout areas, all in a 1 3-page pamphlet that can be given out to, you know, any of the contractors that are out there. So I definitely recommend taking a look at this, and they have this available on their website. Okay, so we're going to go through now the small sites interactive assessment, same kind of thing that Scott did, but focused on the smaller sites. So I'm going to pull up some pictures. Want to have you guys shout out what you think is wrong with those particular pictures, and then we can talk about it. So, first site. What do you guys think? That's right. No perimeter controls on that on that entrance. This right here serves as the entrance and exit for this particular site. And you can see they've attempted to put some gravel bags here, but they haven't done a really good job. What else do you see? Right. Right, there's a stockpile here, and you're thinking, wow, they put it in the garage, it's great, it's covered. But there's two things wrong with it. One, the stockpile is kind of halfway in the garage, halfway out of the garage, so that's not a good thing. And it's not covered. So it didn't look like they were actively using it right now, so that does need to be covered as well. Last thing, they do have a porta potty, and it does have secondary containment, so that's a good thing. They put it up underneath. Okay. What's wrong with this one? That's right. Close to the perimeter, and that perimeter is how close to the water? A couple hundred yards, but still too close. The thing that you can't see about this picture is there is no secondary containment under this porta potty as well. So that's getting right onto the sand, or it's right near the fence, so it needs to be enclosed further. Behind the fence, you can't really see it, but there's some debris piles there too, so they need to have a dumpster on site. Never seen a green fence used quite like this for a dumpster, but we all know they really should have a dumpster here. There's a lot of, I looked over, there's a lot of like paint cans and other things. This is probably common, you guys see this quite a bit. It's just a debris pile on the side of a construction site. So there's a big no-no. There's also no perimeter controls down here at the bottom, so all that's just kind of leaking out. This looks pretty good, right? That's right, no maintenance. There's two things here. One, no maintenance. You see the gravel bags splitting their guts. At least they have them there. The other thing is, this one looks like they've put sand from the beach in there. So remember, we want to use gravel bags, not sandbags. So. That's right, call AQMD. So, that's right, track out. A lot of track out we see here. Yeah, there's really no perimeter controls, it looks like. I mean, it looks like they got a fence, but that's not really helping things. So, so definitely some issues here. What about this one? Kind of hard to see. Perimeter control, right? There's essentially just the green fence again. Well, porta potty, no secondary containment, and it's too close, right? What were you saying? What about, can you see what's right in the crosshairs, it looks like right there? It's something, some kind of container with black ooze coming out of it. I can't be good. Not sure what it is, not sure I want to know what it is, but it's not a good thing. And then the trash, right? I mean, they should really have a dumpster. It's great that it's in bags, but it should be in a container. All right, what's wrong with this one? That's right. That's right. No inlet protection. Kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see the shadow here. There's a stockpile right there. What's going to happen when it rains? It's going to come right out through here. I think these people thought out of sight, out of mind. Not so much. All right, this looks pretty good, right? What's wrong here? Bonus points. Using K-rail, exactly. So they only have the green fence. There's no other perimeter controls, but they've put in the K-rail. And I don't know if that's a safety thing or if they're really trying to use it as perimeter controls, but what's the issue with using the K-rail there? That's right. Those holes for the forklifts, it's just going to come right out. It's not going to detain the water like what we're looking for. A little harder to see here. There's a couple issues. That's right. Oil on the ground in the foreground. Tracking out. That's right. So there's no track out controls. Kind of hard to see, but that's right. No perimeter controls. That dirt, there's a stockpile that's just kind of bulging out right there. This is one of my favorites. This is the ocean right here. This is a beachfront property. What's the problem here? Like, yeah, there's some materials uncovered. Stockpile right here, which is almost as high as the fence itself. And again, only the green fence, no perimeter controls. And this guy seems to be mixing some concrete or something else right there. Probably not the best place to be doing that. What about this one? That's right. Stockpile in the back. It's kind of spilling over into the gutter, which is your conveyance. The whole street is, yeah, there's sediment all over the street, so that's not being maintained. It doesn't really look like they got much in the way of perimeter controls here either. It's just our good old friend, the green fence. Pretty good, right? That's right. No cover on the dumpster. There's a little bit of material on the street, not too bad. But really, the dumpster's the issue. This is after business hours. They should have that covered up. All right, what about here? That's right. No rumble plates. No real construction entrance, right? What else is wrong here? No perimeter, debris. And then we all have seen these tubes before. As soon as that gets squished out, then that's just in the conveyance system. Think they did a good job on this one? This is actually a grade separation between two sites. They got their green fence, but they don't have any perimeter controls, so it's not really doing anything. Yep, no perimeter controls, just getting right out into the street there. Another beach site. Yeah, plywood. It's the new silt fence. It's actually plywood and cardboard, so it gets worse. But yeah, no perimeter controls. There's actually some debris and trash right here as well. So literally from the vantage point of the picture to the water, because the water comes in, the ocean is like 25 feet. About this site. What could be done better here? So the first thing is, it looks like it's still an active parking lot. Maybe some situations where you want to shut down at least part of the parking lot when you're doing this kind of construction, because people are just kind of walking back and forth over this and tracking dirt everywhere, debris. So you need some perimeter controls and maybe cordon this area off. All right, a lot going on with this picture. What do you guys think? Cement here. This is all cement. Trash. Stockpile. What's? Yeah, it's an inlet, not really protected very well. And then some concrete bags just out in the open, no perimeter controls. This is right next to the beach in Laguna. About this site. Yep. There's no no defined site entrance, perimeter controls, debris. What about this one? Doesn't even really look like there's a defined construction site here. But there is a stockpile. There's no perimeter controls. What's wrong with this picture? Yeah. So they got the rumble strip, but it's not really being effective. Not to mention, they could probably use a little bit bigger rock, right? Yeah. This is a great site. Yeah, there's concrete residue right here. Look at the stockpile. This is the street right here, by the way. So there's no control. There's no perimeter controls. The good thing is they've got some storage in the garage here, but there's even a paint bucket here. There's a couple more over here. So yeah, this is a bad site. It's a little harder to see, but you see what the sign says? The sign says open during construction. And, by no means do you want to, reduce people's businesses, and their way to, get their income. But at the same time, there's a lot of track out through this. So maybe they just need to designate better, and cordon off where the construction is actually happening. Okay. What's the good and the bad here? No, this is actually a concrete washout. So it's actually the same site. This is right here. So the problem is, this looks pretty good, actually. This is a good example of looks like a watertight concrete washout. The problem is that maybe this was the previous one, but they need to get rid of it. And the problem is that when it rains, it's gonna wash all this material down, and you're gonna get that change in pH that Scott talked about. So this is good. This needs to be taken out. And lastly, I love this sign. So you think they're more concerned with noise or with erosion control? So the good thing, I was on the site, I didn't see any children or pets, or there's no loud music, so they got that going on. But the funny thing is, They say SWIP strictly enforced. Well, I don't think it's strictly being enforced. This is the same site as this, so they got that issue. It's the same site as this, so they got the rumble strip issue. Plus all of this right here, it's concrete. So that's a problem. There's a bunch of debris here, paint cans, other things. So I think they've got the no noise down pat, but they need a little bit more work on their erosion control and SWIP implementation. Okay, with that, we are right a minute from 12 o'clock. Any other questions that anybody has for Scott or myself? Okay. Yeah.
That we're seeing, there's a lot of changes that have occurred. Now, permits get issued based on the last date of these programs being implemented. So we have new knowledge now, but we're still working under whatever permits have already been issued.
Yeah, I mean, this is all compliant with the current, basically the current Santa Ana permit and current CGP. Both of those permits will likely change within the next year. So right now, we're working with the county on what's called the reported waste discharge to apply for the new municipal permit. And the general construction permit is actually due for renewal in July of next year. So it may be very well, and there's probably not going to be a lot of significant changes to that permit. There'll be some nuances, but it could be, although this is optimistic, that when we meet next year, you could have two new permits. But yeah, this is all, everything we presented today is consistent with your current permits. Any other questions? All right at 12 o'clock. You guys have a good one.
Where are you taking us for lunch?